Daughter,
Yeah.
for this great evening. Today is a memorable day, Mother's Day.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
are happy to
Yeah.
share with. Yesterday, due to some technical problem,
No,
I could not connect with all of you. I
no,
applied
no,
myself for that,
no, 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 not
and
at all,
now
not at all, not at all. So we can continue, sir. All of them are ready.
Please start, sir.
yeah. Shall I start, sir?
Yes, sir.
We are today discussing about very important cases of the Honorable Supreme Court in respect to amendments and constitutional amendments, Article 368 and other cases. But before that, I would like to impress upon you that the other day somebody asked about question hour and 0 hour, regarding which Madam Shailija told me that already there was some information given or some lecture is given by Honorable Padmanabh Rao Garu. I hope that you all know what is question hour and 0 hour. Just to 2-3 minutes I will explain and send a article of 2 or 3 magazines and important people, two or three articles to Madam. You can verify that article and you can understand what is question hour and 0 hour. Recently, due to this pandemic, the Honorable Parliament has held that there is no question hour and circulated 0 hour, curtailed 0 hour. Even the opposition has criticized this. So what are the importance? What is the importance of these two? You must know. There will be some questions regarding these two in UPSC exams. Question hour. The first hour of every parliamentary sitting is slotted for question hour. However, in 2014, the question hour was shifted to the from 11 a.m. to 12 noon in the Rajya Sabha. During this 1 hour, members of the parliament ask questions to ministers and hold them accountable for the functioning of their ministries. The questions can also be asked to the private members. So, if any member of parliament wants to put some questions relating to any ministry or any of the parliament, then that particular questions can be put during the period from 11 a.m. to 12 noon from 2014 onwards. But previously, the first hour of every parliamentary sitting is slotted for the question hour. So the presiding officer, for conducting the procedure, for conducting the session, has to have some procedure. So this is the question hour. Then 0 hour is an Indian parliamentary innovation. It is not mentioned anywhere in the parliamentary rules book. So under this class, whether in this 0 hour, MPs can raise matters without any prior notice. The 0 hour starts immediately after the question hour and lasts until the agenda for the day. Regular business of the house is taken up. In other words, the time gap between the question hour and the agenda is known as 0 hour. Generally, by 1 p.m., the lunch time starts. So that 12 to 12 onwards till 1, that is 0 hour, they said. So the name is put as the 0 hour. Generally, if you want to put any question in the parliament to any minister or MP, you have to give 15 days time. If there is any urgency during 0 hour, you can raise any question. So you can avoid that 15 days gap. If a question is already circulated about 15 days back, necessary information will be already there with the minister. Even in the gallery, the staff of the minister will be there. In case if there is any difficulty to minister, some statistics, some information, the staff will come and help the minister. So for the last 70 years, MPs have successfully used the parliamentary division of question hour to shine a light on government functioning. Their questions have exposed financial irregularities and brought data and information regarding government functioning to the public domain. So simply you can say between 11 to 12 in Rajya Sabha, questions can be put to ministers or private MPs. This is question hour. What is 0 hour? From 12 onwards, because the lunch starts at 1 o'clock, 12 to 1, this is called 0 hour. In this 0 hour, without prior notice, the members of parliament can put questions to the ministers or any other MPs. With this, we'll go to the today's class. You know, we have already discussed various important principles of law, but just to have a glimpse of what we have already learned, I will explain you 3 or 4 important points, and then we'll go for the famous cases which are decided on amendment of the Constitution. We can simply say what is amendment of the Constitution at first, and then understand it. Then thereafter we can go for what are the famous cases that are decided by Honorable Supreme Court. Amending the Constitution of India is the process of making changes to the nation's fundamental law or supreme law. The procedure of amendment in the Constitution is laid down in Part 20 of the Constitution of India. This you can say simply what is amendment. If you want to amend any article in the Constitution of India, the process of making changes to the nation's fundamental law or supreme law, then the procedure is to make an amendment in the Constitution, and that procedure is laid down in Part 20 of the Constitution. తెలుగులో చెప్పాలంటే భారత రాజ్యాంగం సవరించడం అనేది దేశం యొక్క ప్రాథమిక చట్టం లేదా సుప్రీం చట్టంలో మార్పులు చేసే ప్రక్రియ. రాజ్యాంగంలో సవరణ విధానము భారత రాజ్యాంగంలోని 20వ చాప్టర్లో ఉంది. సో ఈ యొక్క చాప్టర్లో భారత రాజ్యాంగం యొక్క గొప్పతనం, పవిత్రత మనకు తెలియజేస్తుంది. భారత పార్లమెంట్ యొక్క ఏకపక్ష అధికారాన్ని కూడా మనకు తెలుపుతుంది. దిస్ ఈజ్ వాట్ అమెండ్మెంట్ ఆఫ్ ద కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్. ఇఫ్ యు వాంట్ టు అమెండ్ ద కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్, then amending the Constitution of India is within the power of Parliament. The process of making changes to the nation's fundamental law or supreme law, the procedure that is mentioned in Article 368, that is Part 20, ensures the sanctity of the Constitution of India and keeps a check on arbitrary power of the Parliament of India. However, there is another limitation imposed on the amending power of the Constitution of India, which developed during conflicts between the Supreme Court and Parliament, where Parliament wants to exercise discretionary use of power to amend the Constitution, while the Supreme Court wants to restrict the power. This has led to laying down of various doctrines or rules in regard to checking the validity, legality of an amendment. You know very well, the most famous among them is the principle of basic structure doctrine as laid down by the Honorable Supreme Court in the case of Keswananda Bharati versus State of Kerala. So with this, we can now go to directly to the cases. Before that, you know that our Constitution is not static. It is a running Constitution in the sense, depending upon the changes, depending upon the sociological conditions and society's necessities, our Constitution gives power to make laws that are necessary for the needs of the people. Keeping that in view, you must understand each case, famous case, that are decided by the Honorable Supreme Court of India. The Constitution declares India to be a sovereign socialist democratic republic. It wants to secure all its citizens justice, equality, and liberty. So it has come into effect on January 26, 1950. That is the reason why we celebrate Republic Day on that day. You know that 395 articles, 12 schedules, 1,17,369 words in the English language version, and also our having an official Hindi translation for the same, and those being kept in the Parliament with some necessary security and all that. We have the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. Powers of each organ are clearly decided, rather defined. And in the Constitution, there are provisions to regulate the relationship between the different organs and between the government and the people. Constitution is superior to all other laws. We want to achieve some goals, that is democracy, socialism, and national integration. Welfare state concept where people shall have life, liberty, food, shelter, and all other things. Through the process of social revolution, by proceeding with what you call democracy, socialism, and in order to have national integration, and as on that day when the Constitution came into force, because there are several kingdoms in India at that time. So the Constitution, by taking inspiration from all the Constitution in the world at that time, incorporated several important principles, doctrines, by making articles. Important articles are fundamental rights, then directive principles. Third chapter of Constitution is fundamental rights, and fourth chapter is directive principles. These directive principles of state policy are taken from the Irish Constitution. You must keep it in your mind. As you said, that a constitution should be a dynamic document. It is to adapt to the changing needs of society. Sometimes, under the impact of new powerful social and economic forces, the pattern of government will require major changes. At that time, the Constitution empowers the Parliament to make necessary amendments under Article 368. So, you know, already we have discussed about simple majority and flexibility of the Constitution, and also partly rigid and partly flexibility of the Constitution. Some articles can be amended by simple majority, like the articles that are mentioned in second schedule, Article 103, 105, 11, 124, 135, 81, 137. Then other procedure is special majority. That is majority of the total membership of each house and by majority of not less than 2/3 of the members of each house present and voting, or by ratification by the special state legislatures after special majority, such as the articles like Article 73, 162 in Chapter 4 of Part 4. We have to see the history of the Indian constitutional law. Constituent power is the area in which the history of the Indian constitutional law, which has led to most serious disagreements. Disagreements between whom? Parliament and judiciary. Parliament makes some law, and the judiciary, by exercising its power of judicial review, look into those amendments, whether those amendments are within the power of the Parliament or they are there to achieve the goals of the Constitution or not. What are the goals? Goals are mentioned in preamble. And whose rights are going to be affected by making amendments? Maybe the citizens or non-citizens, whosoever they may be. Sometimes fundamental rights also are affected. So when there is a disagreement between the Parliament and judiciary, the conflict involving parliamentary supremacy on one hand, and on the other, judicial review of the scope and extent of the power and the manner in which such power is to be exercised. This is what very important. Parliament is supreme because it has got power to make amendments. But at the same time, that power must be in connivance with the objects and goals of the Constitution. So the Supreme Court has got, High Courts also have got judicial review of what? The scope and extent of the power. What is the scope and extent of the power that is given to the Parliament? Under Article 368 or under any other article, that has to be taken into consideration by the court while considering the exercising the power of judicial review over that particular law. And then the manner in which such power is to be exercised, this is also very important. How that power is exercised by the Supreme Court, whether any due process is followed or not. Constituent power is termed as a power which is exercised by a representative body authorized by the Constitution to amend the Constitution. This amending power is one of the most desirable powers in the Constitution. So, you can define the classification of amendment procedure into two heads. One is rigid and flexible. What is rigid and what is flexible? Procedure means difficult to amend the Constitution like that of US, Australia, Canada, and Switzerland. So, in America, that is in US or Australia, Canada, and Switzerland, there is a difficulty for the Parliament to make any amendments. So that principle is adopted here in India also in respect of some provisions, making it is very difficult. So rigid procedure is there. Likewise, there are certain amendments with flexible procedure. It means in which procedure to amend is very easy and can be done even by passing a normal legislation like that of United Kingdom. So in India, though the procedure is classified as rigid, but it has practically proved to be a very flexible one because number of amendments are taken place several times. Number of amendments, because though we say it is rigid, but still it is flexible. That is the reason why a number of amendments have taken several times. So you can, by reading, understand which are the articles which can be amended with flexibility without any rigidity, and which are the articles that can be amended by special procedure with ratification and all that. During several laws, so many years, several amendments have taken place. The founding fathers, who were not having the rights properly, given several rights to Indian citizens. But before the parliament has really came into existence, that means parliament will come only after elections. First amendment took place before the elections are held and parliament came into this. Parliament came into existence. The Supreme Court and the amending power of the parliament, we have to understand. First case is Sankari Prasad versus Union of India. In this case, first time, the question whether fundamental rights can be amended under Article 368 came for consideration of the Supreme Court. What is involved in that case? In that case, the validity of the first constitutional amendment, which added Article 31A and 31B of the Constitution, was challenged. Then, when it is challenged, it was contended that though it may be open to Parliament to amend the provisions in respect of the fundamental rights, the amendments would have to be tested in the light of the provisions contained in the Article 13.2 of the Constitution. 13.2 says what is law, what is not law. 12 says state, and these two articles, we have to understand from these two articles about what is called state, what is called law. Then we have to see whether those provisions are complied or not. This is the contention of the advocate in that case, Sankari Prasad versus Union of India. So what they contended is, yes, Parliament has got power to amend the provisions in respect of the fundamental rights, but those amendments would have to be tested in the light of the provisions contained in Article 13.2 of the Constitution. But the Honorable Supreme Court, with a bench of 5 judges, unanimously rejected the contention that insofar as the First Amendment took away or abridged the fundamental rights conferred by Part 3, it should not be upheld in the light of the provisions of Article 13.2. Honorable Justice Shastri Garu, delivering the judgment of the court, held that although law must ordinarily include constitutional law, there is a clear demarcation between ordinary law, which is made in the exercise of legislative power, and constitutional law, which is made in the exercise of constituent power. So you must understand ordinary law and constitutional law. Ordinary law can be made by the Parliament by exercising legislative power. Some law can be made. Recently, we have seen one law regarding reservations which are stuck by Honorable Bombay High Court. That type of laws can be made by Parliament by exercising legislative power. But for amending the constitution, especially fundamental rights and other things, what you require is constituent power. So we have to see the principles of Dicey. What the Dicey held is all rules which directly or indirectly affect the distribution or exercise of the sovereign power in the state. The term of Article 368 are perfectly general and empower Parliament to amend the Constitution without any exception whatsoever. That way, the Honorable Supreme Court in that case held that the Parliament has got power to make amendments of even fundamental rights. So, the Constitution gives so many assurance in Part 3, that is fundamental rights, that it will be difficult to think that they were the playthings of special majority. So this was the law laid down in that particular First Amendment case. Then we have got Sajjan Singh's case. The judgments in Sajjan Singh's case were to provide the outlines of what was to become, and still is a national debate on the methods by which the Indian Constitution can be amended. Still it is open. What is basic stature? Still open. We'll see what is basic stature, whether basic stature can be amended or not, under what circumstances it can be amended, and all that. So as an Indian citizen, when you want to point it out the doubts expressed by Hidayat Challa and Madhulekar judges in Sajjan Singh's case about the correctness of the decision in Shankari Prasad's case were to be confirmed by the majority in the next case to be considered. That is Golaknath case. In this case itself to be overruled by a majority in the Keswananda Bharati's case. This time in favor of the Constitution were basic and unalterable. So you can say post Keswananda Bharati case and pre-Keswananda Bharati case. So finally you can say that basic structure of the Constitution cannot be amended. This is what finally the law laid down in various cases, and finally now it is under consideration still, because sometimes to get out the decisions of the Supreme Court, certain laws also made. Suppose in the first case, as I said earlier, what held by Supreme Court is basic structure also can be amended. Fundamental rights can be amended. But later in Keswananda Bharati case, the Supreme Court recognized the basic structure concept for the first time in the history of the Supreme Court in the historic Keswananda Bharati case in 1973. Ever since, the Supreme Court has been the interpreter of the Constitution and the arbitrator of all amendments made by Parliament. In this case, validity of the 25th Amendment Act was challenged along with the 24th and 29th Amendments. The court by majority overruled the Golaknath case, which denied Parliament the power to amend fundamental rights of the citizens. So, in Golaknath case, the Parliament held that the Supreme Court held that Parliament has no power to amend the fundamental rights. But in Keswananda Bharati case, it held that the majority held that Article 368, even before the 24th Amendment, contained the powers as well as the procedure of amendment. The Supreme Court declared that Article 368 did not enable Parliament to alter the basic structure of framework of the Constitution, and Parliament could not use its amending power under Article 368. It held this principle: damage, weaken, destroy, abrogate, change, or alter the basic structure or framework of the Constitution. This decision is not just a landmark in the evolution of constitutional law, but a turning point in constitutional history. So, Keswananda Bharati case it is in between Keswananda Bharati and state of Kerala. Recently, Keswananda Bharati also died. This is a landmark judgment in which judiciary, the Indian judiciary, have the power to judicial review and strike down the amendments to the Constitution of India passed by the Indian Parliament, which conflict with or seek to alter the Constitution's basic structure. So majority judgment, you can say, in favor of the power of the Supreme Court to amend the articles, but it held that basic structure cannot be amended. So this way, from then onwards, basic structure concept is from time to time reaffirmed by the Honorable Supreme Court in several other cases. Suppose in India Nehru Gandhi versus Rajnaran case, where the election of the then Prime Minister is questioned, the basic structure concept is reaffirmed. The basic features of the Constitution according to the election case verdict, again, each judge expressed different views about what amounts to the basic structure of the Constitution. So some say that sovereign democratic republic status, equality of status and opportunity of an individual, secularism and freedom of conscience and religion, and government of laws and not of men, that is the rule of law, all these things, they are considered as the basic structure of the Constitution. Then we have L. Chandrakumar versus Union of India case. In this case also, the Supreme Court held these provisions as unconstitutional because they deny judicial review, which is the basic feature of the Constitution. Wherever basic structure or features of the Constitution are involved, the Supreme Court held that the effect of Keswananda Bharati case is that first think whether this particular amendment is going to destroy the basic structure of the Constitution or not. If it is, then it can't be allowed. So the summary of the effect of the various judgments is Parliament has limited powers to amend the Constitution. Parliament cannot damage or destroy the basic structure of the Constitution. The procedure prescribed for the amendment is mandatory. Non-compliance with it will result in invalidity of the Constitution. Clauses 4 and 5 inserted in Article 368 by 42nd Amendment are invalid because they take away the right of judicial review. Parliament cannot increase its amending power by amending the Article 368. So when the Parliament amended Article 368, the Supreme Court considered it, the Parliament has no power to amend 368 in such a way, deny the right to have judicial review to each individual about the laws that are made by the Constitution. Now you can say there is no hard and fast rule for basic feature of the Constitution. Different judges keeping different views regarding the theory of the basic structures. But at one point, they all have similar view that Parliament has no power to destroy, alter or emasculate the basic structure or framework of the Constitution. So with this, we can say the preamble, fundamental rights and other basic elements are of the basic structures of the Constitution cannot be amended. These words I can say with greater force to doctrine of the basic structure because the federal and democratic structure of the Constitution, the separation of powers, the secular character of our state are very much more definite than earlier than either negligence or natural justice. So for the protection of welfare of state, fundamental rights, unity and integrity of the nation, sovereign democratic republic, and for liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith and worship, interpretation of judiciary is mandatory. We can say none is above the Constitution, even Parliament and judiciary. With this, I complete my lecture. Hello? Istaram. Madam? Selija garu? Padmanabharao garu.
Sir, Sai Karan here, sir.
Now I completed the reading of case laws. If you are having any doubts, you can ask.
Sir, when parliamentary committees were there to, parliamentary committees, sir.
What, sir?
Sir, parliamentary committees, sir.
Parliamentary committees are there.
So any law should any law చేసే ముందర లా చేసే ముందర పాస్ అయిన తర్వాత బిల్ పాస్ అయిన తర్వాత కమిటీస్ కూడా రివైజ్ చేస్తాయా సార్?
నాకు అర్థం కాలేదండి మీకు వచ్చిన పార్లమెంటరీ కమిటీ వేరు, పార్లమెంట్ వేరు. పార్లమెంట్ కెన్ అమెండ్ ద కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్. పార్లమెంట్ మీన్స్ రాజ్యసభ అండ్ లోక్సభ. సో దేర్ ఇస్ ఎ ప్రొసీజర్, ఫ్లెక్సిబుల్ ప్రొసీజర్ అండ్ రిజిడ్ ప్రొసీజర్.
ఓకే సార్.
Parliamentary committee is different. A committee is constituted by parliament to find out certain things. Parliamentary committee doesn't amend the constitution. Parliament is entitled to amend the constitution.
Excuse me, sir, this meeting will end. Shall I join? You have
Yes.
another meeting, I suppose?
I have by 6 o'clock, I have a meeting, madam.
Yes, sir.
Now I completed my lecture. If any
Yes, sir.
questions are there,
Yeah.
you can start. They can ask.
Yes, sir. I will end the meeting and students will join once again, sir.
Yes.
Will you be joining or you have another meeting?
What is the time, madam?
5:40, sir.
I can be there for 10 minutes. I can
Yes, sir.
answer their
Yes, sir.
questions.
Yes, sir.
Please
Students,
continue.
please join once again.
We will
Yeah.
reschedule. We will
Yes,
reschedule.
yes, yes.